Hi everyone, it's Kim. Thanks for joining me. With only a few weeks to go until Halloween, I want to do a few more Halloween cards and share with you a new die that we can use for Halloween or other holidays. But first, let's start with this little guy. We have seen him before. He was on a card I did with the skeleton hands playing the piano keys. But this time I've used him by himself, and this is a better press plate. This is new this year. And he's one plate, even though he's two different colors. And you can see when I turn this over, the dice have stained my plate, which doesn't affect it in any way, but you can see how I've used two different colors. And we're going to take a closer look at Better Press again, because I know more and more people have invested in this Better Press system. But know that if you are careful, you can use two colors on one plate. For this guy, I also used a Posca paint pen and colored in his face and his arms and collarbone a little bit just to make it a little whiter and not so gray from the background. And I also used a Posca pen here on the pumpkin face. And then this plate comes with two sentiments. The second one is, "Hey there, pumpkin." So I love this little guy, quick and easy. I just put little gems there in his eye to give that a little sparkle, but it would be very easy to create a bunch of these if you send out Halloween cards. So let's take a look at a new die. So here's the card I made with it. And this is a new collection from Wendy Vecchi with Spellbinders. And I'm going to just show you the back of the package because the front's the dies. This is called Halloween add-ons because it is part of a collection. So to start with, I just got this die. I'm getting the envelope die that goes with it. There is also a a winter holiday Christmas add-on set and a birthday set, and I don't have those. I'm kind of at the point where I really look at what's in the die set, because I'm getting to where, for example, Halloween, I have a number of the same thing over and over, just a little different. So I really want to make sure that the die contains enough new pieces that it makes sense for me to get this. And I love this little kitty here. And I knew I could use this cat for Halloween, but also for many other occasions, especially if I need a card for one of my cat-loving friends. So this time I used it in a Halloween setting. And years ago, I saw this sentiment about spiders, and we aren't really afraid of them until they disappear and we can't find them. So I thought that was fitting for this, with the little kitty looking up at the spider web and the spider. And I just put the sentiment, "Seeing a spider isn't the biggest problem," on the computer, printed that out, and on the inside, it's when it disappears. So pretty easy if you find a quote or a sentiment you don't have a die for, or a stamp. Just print it out on the computer, and then I just die cut it out. So for this card, the background is a 3D embossing folder, an old one from Tim. I'm going to guess, I think it was called Brickwork, but I'm not 100% sure on that. All the other pieces that I used on this come from this die set. And again, it's called Halloween add-ons, but it's for the Wendy Vecchi collection that just came out with Sizzix. And this envelope here is a separate die that I did order. I decided I'm going to get that. And then this back piece here is another die that comes with a birthday cake. So I'm on the fence about that. I'm not sure if I need another birthday cake, but I know I can use this cat. Here's another one where I use the cat. Spider free except for a web. Candy, that's the big part of Halloween. So this kitty's there for the candy. This time I used this spider web as a net to hold all this corn candy, and there's 3 different sizes of corn candy here. And the other thing that is neat about these cats is I can really get 2 for 1. So I'm going to go back and pull this one back in and show you something here. So when I die cut this out, I took the fallout pieces and the piece that is like that, the outline of this cat, and I could make myself a second cat. And how I did that is, here's the piece, the die cut piece for the cat face. And then I have this leftover piece here, and I just took the leftover piece, which is the outline, put a piece of paper on the back so you can see my purple paper there, and then I took all the dropout pieces and just glued them on. Super simple. Then there is a separate die for the little nose here, so I can die cut a separate nose. And if I want different colored eyes like I did on this one, I'll just run that die through again and die cut some eyes out and put onto the black eyes or in lieu of the black eyes. And then I need to trim it out. Super simple. I just take my scissors and trim around it. But if I can get this in the light just right, the die actually kind of leaves a little imprint, a little outline, which is probably a little under maybe 1/8 of an inch or about 1/8 of an inch. And that kind of just gives me a little guide to go around the cat so that I have an even amount outlining that base paper. But if it's not perfect, that's okay. My cats aren't perfect, but no one's going to notice that. But basically, I can get 2 cats with 1 pass of the cat die. So on my second kitty here, I'm here for the candy. That's a Tim die, a Tim Holtz die from Sizzix last year or the year before, I'm not sure when. This is called Bold Text Halloween. So the die comes like this, and you can just die cut it out of a piece of paper or out of the background, whatever you want to do. And then just use this, and then whatever color is on the background would come through for the letters. I like to just use the letters. So what I did was die cut it out, but then I did use this so I could line everything up super easy. I die cut the letters out of orange paper. Then I just laid this back down and put a little glue on the back of each letter and stuck it back in here. Just make sure you don't put so much glue it squishes out from underneath your letter, because then you're going to glue your little template down. But that was a quick and easy way for me to be able to use that sentiment and have it lined up perfectly without me having to pull my hair out trying to make it straight. The other thing to notice is the background, this plaid background, and that is from a stencil set that is part of this collection from Wendy. And I'm going to show you the back of the stencils. And then we'll look at the stencils. There's 5 stencils. This is called Build a Plaid. And as you can see, they're all different. So there's not like a set pattern that you need to use for this. And Wendy has a Facebook page that you can join, and I think she goes through that. I'm not on Facebook, so I couldn't see that. But I have the 5 stencils here, and they're just different widths of straight lines. And I want to show you a little trick, something that I learned online that BB Cameron does. And when I saw this, I thought, oh, this is so great. Because a lot of times I have to, tape my paper down and then tape my stencil down. She uses a jelly plate. And I want to show you how quick and easy this is to work with. Now, my gel plate is yellow because I used alcohol ink on it at one point, and the yellow ink out of all the colors stained the jelly plate. It doesn't hurt it. It works just as great as ever, but mine is beautiful and colorful. Normally they are clear. But what the beauty of this is when you're going to stencil is it holds your paper and your stencil. So I have a piece of paper here. It's a little smaller than an A2 size, but that's what I had handy. And now I can take and just place whatever layer I want down for my stencil. The first time I did this, I did learn a few things. I just went for it, and that's kind of what you have to do. Here's my first one. And I started, I think, with the smallest and built up, and you can see this red is the biggest, whitest stencil here. So I learned real quickly, well, maybe use this one first and in a much lighter color. Don't make it such a dark color, and then it won't just be like the biggest thing that you see. The black lines are something that I drew in. So you can do that as well. You can kind of get some ideas of what to do here. But I think I kind of overdid it with the black lines. And the other thing that after finishing this, I was like, this is way too symmetrical. So if you do like symmetry and you want your symmetrical, here's a quick and easy way to do it. When you lay your stencil down, do both sides of it, both openings. If you flip it around, do both openings. And you can see that I did both openings on every single one of these patterns. So pretty symmetrical. So this next go, I thought, my goal is going to be not to be so symmetrical. So let me show you the next one. So I used this big wide one in a lighter color, laid that down first, and then I added the others. And you don't have to use both sides of it. You don't even have to use all the stencils if you don't want. It's totally up to you. So just play with it and do what you want. And that was half the fun of it because they're all different. I didn't stop and try to copy another one. I also like using it on a light colored paper rather than just white paper because then that already gives the base a little bit of color to start with. So let's just do this really quick. You're going to see how easy. So if you have a jelly plate, you never use it, or even if you do use it, but I'm guessing a lot of people have them and don't use them, here's another use for them. So let's just we're just going to do a couple colors. I'm just going to lay this down. I do try to line up the paper with the edge here of the stencil because I do want to have it as straight as possible. For me, I prefer the straight lines than all over the place. I'm just going to use Distress inks. I just have my little ink pad here. I'm going to pull this down just a little farther. And so not only does the jelly plate hold my paper, it holds my stencil. So you could just see how easy it was to move that if I decide I don't like the paper or the stencil where I have it positioned, and then I'm not pulling up tape and retaping it and hoping it doesn't move while I stencil. Now this is going to seem really light on this paper, but you'll see it once I move the stencil. And then you don't have to do this again, but we'll just do another one. We're just going to lay it here. I do try to look through the stencil and make sure this is equidistant along the side, along the edge. Here's another way to look at it because I know the stencil's cut straight. And if I've cut my paper straight, then I should be good to go. So let me just do this real quick. And I don't pre-plan, pre-think. I just kind of go for it. Because again, it's, just a piece of paper. We can always cut another piece of paper if we decide it's not exactly how we want it. And then there's kind of two medium-sized openings. We'll just take this one. We're just going to do a couple with this. And again, if I only wanted to do one, I would only have to do one. I don't need to do two. And I am going to kind of line it up here along this side, and I can kind of even see along here, but this is probably an easier one for me to see, and making sure that edge is lined up straight helps as well. So let's just real quickly do this. Normally I'd probably add a little more ink. You can use any ink pad that you want. I like to use a Distress because then it's so super simple for me to clean up my stencils. If you use an archival ink, you can clean up the ink with 70% alcohol. And when I'm all done, if I'm making a bunch of these, I usually don't just make one, I make a bunch. Then I can just wash off the ink from my jelly plate and put it back. All right, so the last two have these little lines. These are the same. There's a double set and a single one. They're the same width. This is kind of nice because if, say you wanted just a single line, you would probably have to mask one of these off so you don't get the ink going to the other opening. So got some options there. Let's just lay this down here. We'll do this real quick because you can see how fast it goes. When I sat down and played with this, I just cut out a bunch of different A2 size backgrounds and then just sat and took out different ink combinations and made several backgrounds. I didn't have to make the same one over and over. And that's what's kind of fun is, if you don't think about it, you can just sit there and do whatever you want to do. And then I'll have some to go for future projects. So I'm just going to come down here. And let's just do one more right here. And you can do as much or as little as you want. Sometimes I don't know when to stop. I just have fun and I just keep going until I'm at the end and think, wow, that's pretty plaid. This one's pretty simple. And I'll just wash these off and I can just pull this up. Look at how easy that is. So simple. And then when I'm all done playing, I'll just rinse this off so I don't have any ink on there for the next time I pull it out to use it. But if you have one of those jelly plates and you're not using it, there's another good use for it. Okay, so we're going to get away from the cats for just a minute. We'll come back to them. I wanted to challenge myself. There's 3 dies this year that have come out that I have absolutely loved. The skeleton hand, the martini glass, and the spider from Tim. And I have the moon mask from several years ago that I've always loved. So I thought, pull those out. What can I do with them? I love spider dies, although in person or in real life, I'm not a fan of spiders. And I always thought, what if there was one crawling on the table? Like, what would I do? Probably wouldn't take my shoe off and smash it on the table. I'm more likely to take a glass and empty it out if it has something in it and trap the spider in it. And then I thought the skeleton hand can hold that glass down. So that's what I did. I know it's sort of a weird idea, but that was a story in my mind. So for the skeleton hand, that's the booze cocktail. Love this hand because it's a nice size. The martini glass is part of this collection. That's from the Olive Martinis. The spider is from Tim Holtz's Halloween vault this year. The Vault Gothic Portraits. Love that guy, and he's a good size. One little thing I did do is I did put some acetate on this die. I don't know if you can see that there, the reflection. So it looked like a real glass. And then, of course, I needed a moon behind it. So this time I used the moon mask and just stenciled that in. If you have the moon die, that works just as well. I could have used the moon die just as easily as the mask. And then my stars, I couldn't even tell you what die set that was. Probably from one of Tim's Halloween Vault dies. But there's so many star dies out there. Just pick what you have and use that. So I know it's sort of kind of maybe an odd combination, but love it. Love those dies in that mask. And when I was making this, I thought, well, now who could maybe appreciate a spider? Who would either enjoy chasing it or maybe eating it? And that might just be a little kitty cat. So here's our cat friend again from Wendy's set. And this time it's peering over the top of the martini glass. Who knows, just taunting that spider or waiting to have a little morsel of it. I used the martini glass and the booze cocktail. So the booze cocktail provided me with the hat and the legs here. But the spider and the stars all come from the Halloween add-on set. This set also has 3 stamps with it and coordinating dies to cut those out if you want to use it. So I used the boo stamp right there. So this was just supposed to be fun, thinking a cat would enjoy having that spider for lunch or for a dinner time cocktail. One other little thing I want to share with you. Some of you know how much I love to go to the Dollar Tree and look for things that I can use on my cards. And I went into a store that I don't go into very often. I found this in the fingernail aisle, or the finger polish aisle, I should say, and they're little gems for fingernails. This is the only time I've ever seen them, and they had one left. So if you run into the Dollar Tree and this is something you're interested in, just see if they have them. Who knows, I may never find another pack of these, but there's quite a few little ones, and they were perfect for the pupil of my cat's eye. So if I turn this, you can see how it gives it just a teeny tiny bit of dimension. So just an idea, if you're in Dollar Tree, see if they've got those fingernail gems for the pupil of whatever it is you're making. And I'm going to leave you with one last card. This was inspired by some of the artists I love during Halloween, and I was seeing a lot of items made out of clay and resin where they had the skeleton hands holding a pumpkin or a skeleton in a pumpkin. So I thought, I've got a perfect pair of skeleton hands. Let me use those. And then I went through my dies to find out, to find a pumpkin that fit in there just right. So again, I would go back through your pumpkin dies and see what you've got. This is a pretty old Tim Holtz die. This is called layered jack-o'-lantern, but I just like how it sat in the hands. Again, just see what you've got in your stash. I did alter the fingers on the skeleton, which we've done before. The fingers, the forefinger and the thumb kind of come together. So if I need to change them, I just cut by the joint of the finger, like the forefinger, and pulled it out on both of them. On the thumb here, it's really curled, and I needed it to open up a lot wider to hold my pumpkin. So I cut at the base, the joint at the base of the thumb, and pulled that all the way back. The hand that goes underneath, I didn't do anything to because you don't see it. And this is the back side of this die, so I could get a right and left hand. But so easy to do that. There is another background using the Wendy stencil set we just looked at. And Happy Halloween is from Karen Bernison's Small Script Halloween. I love this die set because it's a different type of font and it's smaller letters. And you can use it with or without the background or shadow die. This time I used that background die because it really made it pop off of the background, and with the skeleton hands, it really made it stand out a lot more. And then just put a couple of big gems in its eyes just to give it a little more life. So if you're into Halloween, there's some new ideas. Maybe you're more into cats, not Halloween. Even though this is on a Halloween die set, don't overlook it because we're going to see this kitty again, guaranteed, in a non-Halloween way. But I hope that gives you some inspiration for your Halloween makes if you're into it. And thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again in a future video.